The question came during what humans casually referred to as happy hour at the Nexus Station cantina. Commander Vex, 9 of the Corthani, a warrior species whose plated scales could repel plasma fire, had been nursing his third synthahol when he noticed her. Captain Maya Torres sat at the far end of the bar, unarmored, unshielded, draped only in the thin fabrics humans called clothing. No plating, no personal barrier generators, no visible defenses at all. Yet she radiated that peculiar human confidence, unshakable and infuriating. "Excuse me," Vex 9 called out, his translator crackling as it reshaped his guttural tones. "Human female. I must ask you something." Maya turned, raising one eyebrow, that uniquely human gesture mixing mild annoyance with curiosity. "Yeah? What's up, big guy?" "Your species," Vex 9 lifted one of his forearms in emphasis. "You fight wars across the galaxy. You resist the hegemony. You face void-born creatures that send my kind screaming from sleep. And yet you wear no armor. No plating. No shields. Why?" The cantina fell silent. Even the Zephyrian bartender, all 8 limbs mid-motion, froze in place. For 50 years, since humanity had joined the Galactic Council, this question had lingered in every chamber and war room. Maya's response was not what anyone expected. She laughed. Not a polite laugh, not a nervous giggle, but a full-throated, belly-deep roar that echoed against the metal bulkheads, making several alien patrons shift uncomfortably in their seat. "Oh, honey," she said, rolling her sleeves back, still chuckling. "You really want to know?" Vex 9 nodded, scales glittering under the cantina light. Around them, the entire room leaned closer. A squad of stellar marines, even the stoic granite-born delegation, all eyes fixed on the unarmored human. "All right then." Maya stood, stretching casually. "Let me explain human armor." She crossed the floor toward him, moving with an effortless, predatory grace. No clattering plates, no servo hum, no energy distortion, just fluid motion. "You're thinking about this the wrong way," she continued. "You look at us and assume we're fragile, because we don't have scales like yours, or chitin like the Hiveborn, or the Council Guard's shimmering shields. That is precisely what confuses me," Vex 9 admitted. Maya leaned closer, lowering her voice into a whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the bar. "We don't need external armor. Because we are the armor." "I do not understand," Vex 9 said. Her grin widened, and something in that expression made the towering warrior involuntarily step back. "Let me show you." "Hit me." "What?" "You heard me." She tapped her chest with one finger. "Take your best shot. Don't worry about hurting me." The warrior's scales darkened. "I cannot strike an unarmored being. It would be dishonorable. Trust me." Maya's grin turned sharp. "You won't hurt me. And you wanted a lesson in human armor, right? Well, this is lesson 1. Vex 9 hesitated. His species prided itself on strength. A single punch could split alloyed plating. Yet here she stood, relaxed, confident, clad only in cloth. "Very well," he said at last. "But I will use minimal force." "Oh no," Maya shook her head. "That ruins the point. Hit me like you mean it. Like your life depends on it. Like I just insulted your mother and burned down your favorite restaurant." The Corthani's jaw tightened. Still, he drew back his primary arm. The cantina collectively held its breath. Some patrons looked away. The strike came fast and brutal. 4 centuries of refined martial tradition, genetically enhanced muscle, and the full momentum of a warrior people behind it. A blow that should have caved ribs and crushed lungs. Instead, impossibility. Maya didn't dodge. Didn't block. No hidden shield flickered to life. She absorbed it. Her body rolled with the impact, shifting her stance just enough to bleed away the force. Feet adjusted, torso twisted, shoulders dropped. The killing strike became a shove. And then she straightened again. Unharmed. Grinning. Vex 9 blinked at his fist, then at her, then back again. "What in the 7 hells?" Lesson 1. Maya declared, voice carrying across the stunned cantina. Human armor isn't something we wear. It's what we are. Our bones? Composite structures, flexible and resilient. Our muscles? Shock absorbers. Our joints? Adaptive systems. Every piece of us is built to withstand impacts that would liquefy half the species here. She rolled her shoulders like it was nothing. And that's only the beginning. From a corner booth, Dr. Kepler Voss, Station Chief Medical Officer and healer of the caste Ulterion, spoke up. Impossible. I've examined human physiology. Yes, your bone density is remarkable. Yes, your muscle fibers are efficient. But nothing beyond biological norms. What you just did should be impossible. Maya's eyes slid to him, and the temperature of the room seemed to shift. Several patrons instinctively reached for weapons they didn't remember drawing. "Oh, Doc," she said softly. "You've been looking at the wrong things." She stalked toward his table, every step radiating calculated menace, predator approaching prey. "You've scanned our bones, muscles, organs. Very clinical, very scientific. But tell me, did you scan our minds?" Dr. Voss's healing tendrils twitched, curling inward. "Mental activity is difficult to quantify with standard instruments." "Exactly." Maya nodded. "Because you're still thinking like a civilized being. Thinking in terms of medicine and data. But humans." She leaned close, her face inches from his. "We don't think our way out of danger. We feel our way through it." "I don't follow. When Vex 9 hit me just now, I wasn't calculating angles or force vectors. I wasn't running defensive algorithms or pulling data from combat archives." Her grin sharpened. "You want to know what I did?" Voss gave a hesitant nod, tendrils drawn completely into a defensive knot. "I got angry." The words landed heavier than any weapon. Not strategic anger. Not reasoned anger. Pure, biological fury. The kind evolution built into us over millions of years. The kind that floods our blood with chemicals potent enough to make a berserker-class stim look like candy. Maya straightened, eyes never leaving the trembling healer. The cantina was silent, every species present realizing, for the first time, what human armor truly meant. "See," Maya began, her voice steady but dangerous, "most species evolved to run from predators, or hide from predators, or work together to scare off predators. Humans? We evolved to be the predators. And when something threatens a predator..." She rolled her shoulders again. This time, many in the cantina noticed the way her muscles shifted beneath her skin. Not mechanical pistons, not hydraulic servos, but living coils of tension, springs wound and ready to snap. "We don't get scared, Doc," she said softly. "We get dangerous." From the back of the room, Captain Rex Parker, a human freighter pilot with too much synthahol in him, raised his drink with a grin. "Tell them about Kepler 7, Maya. The time with the shock troopers." Maya's grin returned, but this one was sharp, humorless. "Oh, that's a story. 3 full squads of hegemony shock troopers, the so-called best soldiers in the galaxy. Armor rated against capital ship weapons. Energy shields that could withstand a main gun strike. Weapons designed to erase city blocks." She turned slowly, addressing the entire cantina now. "They cornered me and my crew in a cargo bay. No weapons. No armor. No reinforcements. Just me, 5 other humans, and a very bad day." Vex 9 shifted uneasily. His voice was hesitant. "What happened?" Maya leaned on the bar, her tone dropping into the cadence of someone retelling a memory they enjoyed more than they should. "The commander, big one, even larger than our friend here, starts making demands. Surrender this, surrender that. All very official. Very proper." She paused long enough to sip her drink. "So I asked him a question. I said, 'Hey, Commander Big and Scary, do you know what happens when you corner a human?'" Dr. Voss, despite his better instincts, found himself whispering, "He didn't know?" Maya's eyes went distant. "No. He didn't." Her grin returned, colder now. So I told him. I said, when you corner most species, they surrender. When you corner a human, you find out why we're the only species in the galaxy that hunted our predators to extinction. The cantina was silent. Even the hum of the life support systems seemed to fade away. The commander laughed. His troopers laughed. Soft little humans making threats. Her expression shifted. What looked back at the cantina wasn't civilized, wasn't diplomatic. It was primal, ancient, something every species in the room instinctively recognized as danger. So I showed them. She straightened, and the air in the cantina thickened. Gone was the casual woman at the bar. In her place stood something entirely different. First rule of human combat doctrine, she said, her words like blades. We don't fight fair. We don't fight honorably. We don't fight by your rules. We fight to win. And we fight to make sure the other guy never fights again. Vex 9 felt his scales ripple in an involuntary fear response. What did you do? Maya's grin cut across the room like a weapon. I smiled at their commander, just like I'm smiling at you now. And then I asked him if he'd ever heard of something called going feral. Dr. Voss's tendrils twitched. His voice was nervous. Feral state? That's a myth. Sentient beings cannot simply revert. Document. Maya's interruption was almost gentle. You want to bet your life on that? The Altarian's tendrils froze. See, here's what you civilized species don't get, she continued, pacing the cantina with the restless energy of a caged predator. Humans aren't really civilized. We pretend to be because it makes dealing with the rest of you easier. But underneath the manners and diplomacy, we're still the same creatures that brought down mammoths with pointed sticks. She stopped in front of a table of stellar marines, hardened warriors, every one of them, and even they shifted uneasily beneath her gaze. And when you really threaten us, that civility disappears. Completely. Rex raised his glass again, smirking. Tell them about the 30-second mark, Maya. Her smile this time was unmistakably predatory. Ah yes, the 30-second mark. That's when the hegemony commander realized he'd made a mistake. Vex 9's voice was hushed. What happened at 30 seconds? That's when I killed the first one. The words landed like a physical impact. Several beings flinched. No weapons, Maya said, raising her empty hands. No tools. Just these. She flexed her fingers, and for the first time, the assembled aliens noticed the structure of her hands, joints designed for leverage, tendons taut as bowstrings, bones engineered for grasping and tearing. Humans come with natural weapons, she continued. Fists that shatter bone. Elbows that crush armor. Knees that rupture organs. Teeth that can tear through combat suit. And above all, she tapped her temple, brains that know exactly where to apply them. Dr. Voss managed to find his voice. But the armor. Shock trooper plating is rated against energy blasts, explosives. Oh sure, Maya interrupted smoothly. It's excellent armor. Best in the galaxy, probably. But it has one problem. What problem? Her grin sharpened. It's designed to stop attacks from the outside, not from the inside. The silence in the cantina stretched, suffocating. You see, Maya said, demonstrating with her hands, when you grab a shock trooper by the helmet and twist his head 180 degrees, the armor doesn't matter. The soft, squishy parts inside don't handle sudden direction changes very well. Her hands snapped through the motion, sharp and efficient, and half the room winced as phantom pain ran down their spines. The other 17 troopers realized they had a problem. Unfortunately for them, they made another mistake. Vex 9's scales shifted uneasily. His voice dropped to a whisper. What mistake? They tried to run. The laugh that left Maya's throat was darker this time, deeper, the sound of a predator scenting prey. See, running, it triggers something in us. Something ancient. Something called the pursuit response. Our ancestors used it to run antelope into the ground on the savannas. When something flees, we don't think. We don't strategize. We hunt. She paced again, movements unmistakably animalistic. I caught the second one at the cargo bay door. Shock troopers are fast. I'll give them that. But humans? We're endurance hunters. We don't sprint. We pursue. We keep coming. And we keep coming. And we keep coming until the prey collapses. She stopped in front of Vex 9, her gaze locked on his. This one lasted maybe 50 meters. The adrenaline wore off. The fear took over. Big, armored warrior reduced to a panicked animal. Dr. Voss's voice cracked the silence. What did you do to him? I introduced him to another human specialty, Maya said brightly, as if recounting a campfire story instead of a battlefield memory. Improvisation. She reached down, grabbed a standard cantina chair, lightweight alloy and polymer, and held it casually in one hand. Most species design specialized tools for specialized purposes. Humans? We take whatever's at hand and turn it into whatever we need. A chair becomes a club. A bottle, a blade. A maintenance tool, a weapon. A cargo container, a trap. With a flick of her wrist, she sent the chair spinning. It slammed into the far wall with enough force to bury itself half a foot into the station's reinforced metal plating. Gasps rippled through the cantina. The 3rd through 7th troopers learned that the hard way, Maya continued. Rex Parker was openly grinning now. Tell them about the cargo container. Oh, the container was beautiful. Maya's eyes lit with something dangerously close to artistry. Standard shipping unit, 2 tons of empty metal. The remaining troopers thought they were clever, using it for cover while they called for reinforcements. She sauntered to the wall, gripped the embedded chair, and yanked it free with a single hand. So I dropped it on them. Vex 9's voice cracked. You dropped a 2-ton cargo container? Maya tilted her head. Not by hand. That would be ridiculous. I just convinced the bay's gravity manipulators to stop holding it up. She set the chair down gently, as if the gesture itself proved her point. Humans are very good at figuring out how things work. Even alien systems, even under pressure, comes from millions of years of adapting to new environments with whatever we could build or scavenge. Dr. Voss's tendrils quivered in disbelief. But the calculations, the technical expertise required. Document, Maya cut him off with a half-smile. When something's trying to kill you, you'd be amazed how fast you learn. Fear's a wonderful teacher. Anger's even better. And humans. Her grin sharpened. We're very good at being afraid and angry at the same time. She turned back to the room. That left about 8 troopers. By then, they'd finally managed to get a signal out. Reinforcements were on the way. They had me and my crew pinned down behind shipping crates. Textbook tactics. Her expression darkened into something sly. So I decided to teach them about another human specialty, psychological warfare. Psychological warfare? Vex 9 repeated. Oh yes, Maya said. Most species fight with their bodies or their machines. Humans fight with their minds. We get inside our enemy's head, and once we're in, we make them unravel. She began pacing, but this time her stride was casual, almost lazy, as if strolling through a park instead of recalling a firefight. I started talking to them. Calm. Conversational. I asked about their families, their training, their gear. I complimented their tactics, told them how impressed I was with their professionalism. Dr. Voss frowned. That doesn't sound like warfare. Doesn't it? Maya's smile was razor-sharp. I was teaching them something important. That I wasn't afraid. That being trapped, outnumbered, outgunned didn't matter. That this was just another day at the office. She stopped in the center of the cantina. Her expression shifted again. And then, I started laughing. The silence in the bar grew heavy. Everyone could imagine it. Not manic cackling, not madness, but something worse, genuine amusement. A laugh that belonged at a comedy show, not on the edge of annihilation. I laughed like I was enjoying myself, like this whole situation was entertainment. And that's when they started making mistakes. Her voice carried through the cantina with terrifying calm. You see, fear makes most species predictable, she explained, leaning back against the bar as though recounting the weather. They either freeze completely or they panic and do something stupid. The hegemony troopers? They picked option 2. Vex 9, despite every instinct screaming at him to retreat, found himself leaning forward. What kind of mistakes? Well, first they broke formation. Classic panic. Instead of holding their tactical advantage, they clustered together for comfort. She gestured toward the ceiling. Big mistake when you're facing area effect systems. For instance, she pointed at the cantina's sprinkler heads. The cargo bay's fire suppression system. Very useful. Especially once I rewired it to spray industrial coolant instead of water. Dr. Voss's tendrils twitched violently. Industrial coolant? That would cause catastrophic hypothermia, even death. Maya's grin widened. Oh, it gets better. You see, hegemony armor is brilliant. Superb climate control, keeps you comfortable in extremes. But there's a design flaw. What flaw? Rex prompted, already smirking. The intake vents for the cooling system are on the back of the helmet. Very efficient design, draws in ambient air to process for life support. She mimed the motion of something freezing. Unless, of course, the ambient air happens to be supercooled industrial coolant. Then all that marvelous armor becomes a very expensive coffin. Several species in the cantina shifted uncomfortably, exchanging glances with those whose own survival suits worked on similar principles. That took care of 3 more troopers, Maya said lightly. The remaining 5 finally realized they needed a new plan. So they decided to use their biggest advantage. Their weapons? Vex 9 asked. No, Maya corrected smoothly. Their backup. Reinforcements were already en route, a full assault squad with air support. All they had to do was hold position for 10 minutes. She pushed off the bar, resuming her slow prowl through the room. This time, her voice had the tone of a lecturer making a crucial point. Most reasonable beings would call that a hopeless situation. 5 heavily armed soldiers entrenched, reinforcements inbound, overwhelming force on the horizon. Dr. Voss's voice was little more than a whisper. But humans aren't reasonable. Now you're learning, document. Maya pointed at him approvingly, her tone half proud, half mocking. Humans don't do reasonable when we're backed into a corner. We do creative. She stopped in front of a table where 3 mineral-born traders sat, their crystalline bodies refracting the cantina's lights into fractured rainbows. Tell me, friends, what do you know about human creativity? The eldest of them, his voice like stone grinding on stone, answered carefully. Human technological advancement is remarkable. Your species achieves in decades what others take centuries to discover. Maya grinned. That's the polite way of saying we're insane inventors. Most species develop technology gradually, step by step, safe protocols, tested theories. Humans? We look at a problem and think, what if we tried something utterly ridiculous that shouldn't work, but just might? She leaned onto their table, her casual proximity enough to make all 3 mineral-born shift uneasily. Like, for instance, what if we turned a cargo bay's artificial gravity generators into a localized weapon? The silence that followed was absolute. You see, artificial gravity works by creating controlled distortions in spacetime. Very precise, very safe, very restricted by safeguards. Her smile curved into something wicked. Unless you're human, all you need is a basic grasp of physics, a bad attitude, and about 30 seconds to improvise. Vex 9's scales shimmered with distress. What did you do? I turned the gravity generators into a localized black hole. Dr. Voss actually rose to his feet, his tendrils curling in shock. Impossible. The energy requirements alone would. Doc, Maya interrupted gently, almost kindly. You're thinking like a civilized being again. Proper procedures. Safety protocols. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about 5 armed hostiles who needed to stop existing. She straightened, voice carrying to every corner of the cantina. It wasn't a true black hole, of course. More like a gravity spike. 2 seconds, maybe. Just long enough to collapse everything in a 3-meter radius into something the size of a marble. Her words hung in the air like poison. The reinforcements arrived about 30 seconds later. She continued conversationally, as if describing a cargo manifest. Full assault squad. Atmospheric fighters. Heavy armor support. Impressive. Professional. Perfectly prepared for a standard battle. Maya walked back to her place at the bar, movements unhurried, casual, terrifyingly calm. They weren't prepared for what they found. Rex raised his glass again, though his grin was tight. And what did they find, Maya? A cargo bay redecorated into abstract art. Her smile widened, tired but merciless. And me, sitting in the middle of it all, still laughing. The cantina's air recyclers roared in the silence, as if trying to drown out the images her words conjured. Their commander was a veteran, Maya said softly. Experienced. Seen combat across half the galaxy. Hardened, competent. He took one look at the scene and asked me a question. Her voice dropped to a whisper that nonetheless carried everywhere. He asked, "What are you?" Her grin returned, but this time it was different. Not predatory. Not mocking. Just weary, like someone who had answered the same question too many times. So I told him the truth. Her voice was steady. I said, "I'm human. And you just threatened my crew." Vex 9's throat clicked. What happened then? He surrendered. Maya shrugged. Smart commander. Knew when he was outclassed. His team stood down, pulled back to minimum safe distance, and waited for diplomacy to catch up. Dr. Voss shook his head, confused. But with their numbers, their firepower. Document, Maya cut him off, her tone like steel. Let me explain something about human psychology. When we're protecting something we love, we don't calculate odds. We don't weigh consequences. We don't think about limits or losses. We escalate. She rolled her shoulders, muscles shifting again beneath her skin, and once more every being in the cantina realized just how animal her movements seemed. We become something that frightens other predators. The eldest mineral-born spoke carefully, unease in his grinding voice. But this cannot be normal human behavior. Surely your species has individuals who are more reasonable. Maya laughed, genuine this time, amused. Oh, absolutely. Most humans are peaceful. Rational. Negotiators before fighters. We have poets, artists, philosophers. People who devote their lives to creating beauty, to helping others, to exploring peacefully. Her expression softened for a fleeting moment. But here's the thing. Every one of us, no matter how gentle, how artistic, how philosophical, carries the same basic operating system. The same survival code. The same capacity for, she paused, choosing the word carefully. Escalation. Vex 9 tilted his head. Escalation? I mean, Maya explained, that the human doctor who spends her days healing can become a force of destruction if her patients are threatened. The artist who paints in silence can become a psychological weapon if his family is attacked. The scholar who debates philosophy can become a tactical genius if her community is endangered. She swept her gaze around the cantina. Every human you've ever met, every one of us who seems harmless, carries the same heritage I do. The same instincts. The same ability to go from calm to lethal in about 3 seconds flat. She took a slow sip of her drink, the sound echoing in the silence. We just usually choose not to. The weight of her words settled like a shroud over the cantina. Not one being moved. So when you ask why humans don't wear armor, Maya's voice was calm, almost gentle now. You're asking the wrong question. The real question is, why would we need protection when we are the thing the rest of you need protection from? Dr. Voss fumbled for his datapad, recording every word, muttering in disbelief. But surely there are limits. Physical constraints. Biological boundaries. Are there? Maya asked, mildly, eyes glittering. She tilted her head. Tell me, document. What do you know about human extremes, about what we call adrenaline strength? Voss scrolled frantically through his note. I've read reports. Humans accessing abnormal capabilities under stress. Lifting impossible weight. Moving with enhanced speed. Enduring pain far beyond normal parameters. Maya nodded slowly. That's the sanitized version. The truth is, Maya said, flexing her hand casually so the bones and tendons rippled beneath her skin, humans routinely access physical capabilities that should be impossible. Mothers lifting vehicles off their children. Soldiers fighting through injuries that should leave them incapacitated. Athletes pushing past what other species consider biological law. A hush fell over the cantina. Our bodies, she continued, are built with massive safety margins. Most of the time, we operate at maybe 30% of our true capacity. But when we need to, she left the sentence hanging, ominous. Rex Parker leaned back, grinning darkly. The hegemony learned that the hard way. Their entire doctrine was based on predictability. That every species had limits, measurable force, calculable endurance, predictable behaviors. Maya nodded. And then they met humans. And discovered? Vex 9 prompted. Discovered that human limits are mostly suggestions. Maya's voice was almost cheerful. Guidelines we follow when convenient, and ignore when they aren't. She strolled toward the cantina's reinforced viewport, gazing out at the docking bay. Beyond the glass, ships drifted in orderly lines, including one marked with the insignia of Earth. See that freighter? She pointed. The Persistence. Human cargo hauler. Crew of 12. Just last month, it was ambushed by 3 pirate raiders, full crews, military-grade weapons. Dr. Voss hesitated, his tendrils twitching. What happened? The pirates disabled its engines and boarded. Standard operation, seize cargo, ransom crew, scuttle the vessel. Her hand rested against the glass, and somehow the gesture seemed more like a threat than a touch. But they made one mistake. Which was? Vex 9 asked softly. They assumed 12 cargo haulers would be easier to handle than 12 soldiers. Her reflection in the window was smiling, but there was nothing warm about it. Turns out there's not much difference. A human who loads crates all day carries the same survival code as one who fights wars. The same programming. The same programming, Vex 9 repeated, uneasy. The same willingness to do whatever it takes to protect their own, Maya clarified. The same instinct to weaponize anything. The same creativity under pressure. She turned from the window, eyes sweeping the silent cantina. The same ability to become something even nightmares fear. Her words pressed on the room like gravity. The pirate ships were found 3 days later, she said conversationally, drifting lifeless. No survivors. No distress calls. No evidence of what had happened. Dr. Voss's tendrils had withdrawn fully, curling tight against his body. The Persistence limped into port on emergency power, Maya shrugged. Crew alive. Cargo intact. Filed their delivery report. Took their next job like nothing had happened. Vex 9 swallowed hard. But how? 12 cargo workers against 3 armed crews. You're still thinking about humans as individuals, Vex. She set down her glass and fixed him with a gaze that froze him to the core. But we're not just individuals when threatened. She gestured toward Rex, who raised his drink in silent salute. We're a pack species. Threaten one of us, and you threaten all of us. Attack our crew, our family, our community, and you're not fighting 12 humans. You're fighting one human organism with 12 bodies, 12 brains, 12 sets of hands. All focused on one goal. Her voice fell to a whisper that slid into every spine. Making sure you never threaten us again. Maya rolled up her sleeves, and for the first time, the room noticed the scars etched into her forearms. Not random injuries, deliberate, patterned marks. tactical modifications. So when you ask why humans don't wear armor, she said, addressing the cantina one final time, remember this: armor is for species that might lose. Armor is for beings who need protection. Humans don't need armor because we don't plan to lose. We don't need protection because we are what others need protection from. Her smile was quiet, terrible, absolute. And we don't bother with defense. Because the best defense, she paused, letting the silence deepen until it was unbearable, is ensuring your enemies are too dead to attack you. With that, Captain Maya Torres turned and walked calmly out of the cantina. No one moved. No one breathed. And in that suffocating silence, every being in the room understood why humanity's application to the Galactic Council had been approved without hesitation, and why no one had ever dared to vote against them since. At last, Vex 9 turned to Rex Parker. "Is she typical of your species?" Rex's grin was every bit as unsettling as Maya's. "Oh no, friend. Maya's one of the gentle ones." The Corthani's scales blanched to a pale, sickly hue. She used to be a kindergarten teacher. And so the cantina sat in silence, haunted by the truth of humanity: predators who wear no armor because they are the armor. If you've traveled this far into their story, share your thoughts below. What kind of sci-fi worlds would you like to see next? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and leave a comment. Join the conversation, because in this universe, the story of humanity is only just beginning.